Welcome to the Something Random podcast, where sometimes we talk about movies, sometimes we talk about television, but we always talk about something random. I am your host, Charles Joseph Kelly!
Well, hello there, and I am Michael C. Macbeth, co-host.
Hi, I'm also a co-host. My name is Joel Adam Chavis. And we have...
I like how when we do this, our energy starts up high, and then it gets to Joel, and Joel's like,
hey.
Fuck you guys, I'm Joel.
Well, okay. I'll talk about this a little bit real quick. I'm teching 2 shows this week. I open a show Thursday night, and I open a show Friday night, so I'm tired. But I'm doing well. Anyway.
But anyways, we also have our first special guest of the podcast.
Hey.
Welcome to the pod, Mr. Seth Caikowski.
Caikowski.
Caikowski?
It's Caikowski. Leave it up to the Polish people to make C-A-I a ch sound. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for being
So
here.
tell us and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Seth Caikowski, and I met you 3 dudes all doing theater performance. That's how it all started. That's kind of how all the close people in my life I have started. You know what I mean? So I met Charles and Mikeal. This is dating me, but I directed them in high school. Yeah. I also knew Mikeal before that. Like, I had performed with him when he was just quite a bit younger.
Yeah,
I think
like 14.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I met Joel when he strolled into the Union Colony Dinner Theater and auditioned for me.
That's correct.
Yes, absolutely. And then we did Clue the Musical.
The greatest show on earth.
It was pretty awesome.
How long ago was that?
2007.
So wait, we've known you longer than Joel's known you.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have some old footage of interviewing Seth for our first documentary that we ever made.
You know what?
I loved that documentary. I still have that somewhere.
What
It
was
got all scratched up, but I loved that documentary.
What was the documentary?
It was about us recording Les Mis. That was the whole premise of the documentary. It was like the behind the scenes of making a musical, which is a great idea, but...
And then there was an Easter egg on the documentary.
That was the entire show.
The entire show. It was pretty amazing, actually.
The director of the show wouldn't allow us to make DVDs of the show, so
that's pretty funny, actually.
It's a great workaround, especially for high school students who want to document. And it was a big deal because it was this the first time that 2 high schools were coming together to do a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome, actually.
So, hey, guys, what have you been watching this week?
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Okay, so I'm on the road a lot for work, and Netflix has been awesome. So I just watched Death Note. Have you guys seen that?
Yes. What did you think?
I loved it.
Have you seen the anime?
No.
Okay, we talked about it a little bit. Okay, so the whole premise, what did you think?
I loved it. And you know what I really loved about it is that the characters are pretty one-dimensional, which I really loved because you don't like really fall in love with them except for the guy who plays L, right?
Yeah.
That's the only guy that you really know more about, but he's the most mysterious one.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the Willem Dafoe?
No.
That's Ryuk.
Ryuk.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it, so.
Okay, so the whole premise of the movie, if you guys haven't seen this yet, is a guy finds this book that allows him to kill whoever he wants to kill. So he makes the decision, I'm going to kill all the bad guys. So now there's a bunch of detectives who are after him because they say, can't be a vigilante. And it's this weird, interesting chess game between the kid who has the Death Note and this incredible detective who's trying to find him, and their weird, strange relationship.
Yeah, it's actually really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
And the background on all these different characters, like I said, some of them are just one-dimensional, but the detective character alone, you know more about than everybody else, and no one knows his real name, which I thought was pretty ironic, actually.
So it's based off of an anime. I highly recommend watching those. As somebody who watched those, I thought that this was a little bit lackluster, but it was still like a good representation of the story, just not the best that it could have been.
So it lacks luster?
This is a musical theater episode, so maybe we can make curtains references.
Oh my god.
Michael, what have you been watching?
I got a couple. I have been getting myself up to speed on Orphan Black finally.
Nice.
Because I actually started watching it with our older podcast.
I think legally we're not allowed to say his name on the podcast anymore, so we'll
call him Shmushma.
We'll call him Schmarl.
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 It rhymes with Schmarl Knifer.
Schmarl Knifer.
Is that really a thing?
No,
I didn't think so. I was like, what?
it's not even a thing.
It's not even a thing.
Yeah, so it's been great. I
God.
do love that show just from an acting perspective because you get to watch Tatiana Maslany.
Can we please make it a bit where every single episode you like horribly pronounces somebody's name?
Bet. Can we make a
like Lin-Manuel?
Like Lin-Manuel, the last 2 episodes now.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's our new bit. Once an episode, you have to
Yeah,
like.
but I love all of the acting choices, and what especially impresses me about her performances because she's playing all these different clones who have lived in completely different circumstances. So one of them is a scientist with a nose ring and dreads, and one of them is a soccer mom with straight hair and bangs. And so not only does she get to play all these different characters, but multiple times those characters will have to pretend to be other characters. And you can actually see her choices of keeping certain mannerisms of the original character, but so you see it's like, oh my gosh, this is Cosima pretending to be Allison or whatever, and it's very, very clear, and there's got to be a lot of work put into that.
That's impressive.
It's incredible, and the fact that Tatiana Maslany hasn't won any awards for this is incredible. No, she won this last year, didn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What did she win? Not a Tony.
She won, yeah, this is
It
actually
is
a
the musical
musical
episode.
Is there a musical
Orphan Black,
episode
the
of Orphan
musical.
Black?
Oh my gosh, we did The Matrix a couple
That's
weeks
true.
ago. Yeah.
I will tell you this though. To piggyback on that, I watched a movie that's similar to that premise, not clones, but it's a woman playing multiple roles.
Oh, it was What Happened to Monday. Yeah, that was great.
It was really good.
It was also Willem Dafoe in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like a Willem Dafoe week.
Yep.
I have the same birthday as Willem Dafoe.
What?
This is the Willem Dafoe episode now, guys. No
In
longer-
your face.
Yeah.
You have to talk weird, and his mouth like stretches to his earlobes. He would have been a great Joker.
Joker, yeah.
Oh man, he would have.
Mikeal, what's you said you were watching a couple things. What were the other
Oh,
things?
I
Sorry
also
for
finally
interrupting.
it's all good. We're bantering, having fun. I also finally got to watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So first of all, I went in expecting it to not be as good as the first one.
Okay.
Because every sequel, regardless of whether or not it's Marvel or something great, or a great director, etc., it's just not going to have the same novelty that the first one had. That said, I liked the choices they made. I thought it was an excellent film. I am glad they didn't put the Minion-style emphasis on Baby Groot.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't make
The youth marketing.
a Groot spin-off film.
Yeah.
It was actually a sequel, and everybody had a lot of character development. Rocket, especially the raccoon.
It wasn't Jar Jar Binks.
No, thank
Yeah.
God.
No. But Baby Groot was cute as hell. I mean, don't get me wrong.
And they put him in there, and he supported, and rather than like had his own, like you said, no spinoff.
Yeah.
It was a supporting the plot. Rather
Exactly. And I thought that using him for the entirety of the opening sequence, the opening credits, I thought that was very clever of them. They're like, oh hey, there's this really cute thing, and here's a bunch of action going on in the background. I thought that was well done, but then they de-emphasized immediately.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. The movie's not without its problems, but I don't really want to talk about those. But I really am glad that they didn't rehash every single joke that they made in the first one. Absolutely. I did like how, like you were talking about the beginning with Groot, was an homage to the first movie with like, you know, the dance number at the beginning. But it really was something different, but still had that same kind of feel to it. The soundtrack, it was a little lackluster.
Really?
It lacked luster. No. I thought it wasn't as like poppy as the first one, and I really love listening to the first one. I think that's just more of a personal problem.
Okay. I gotcha.
I don't think it's like something that has a problem with the movie and what the movie is trying to say, but there's some great songs on it, don't get me wrong.
I have this theory that the producers, director, etc. sat down for both of these films, and they said, okay, here's what we're doing. We are going to make a feature-length series of music videos with superheroes.
That is Baby Driver.
I loved Baby Driver, by the way, too, though.
Yes.
Are you guys familiar with the comic Guardians?
Yeah, a little bit now. I'm more
haven't read it.
more so now than I was, because I wasn't really well informed about comics before.
The Marvel
Movies, yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
exploded.
Now I'm more. I would say more.
I will tell you this. In my opinion, the Guardians are the best, well-rounded, honest characters in the MCU, in my opinion.
I would 100% agree with you. I think that there's, and we talked about this in the last episode, about how the Marvel movies have a tendency of falling within these same plot beats and making characters all about the plot and not about the characters. That movie specifically, those movies are all about the characters. There's some big plot moments in the second one, but yeah, no,
I agree.
Great. I think it's fantastic.
And all of those characters have taken a journey already, and it's all about them establishing themselves as a family.
Right.
Yep.
So those themes already are honestly better than any I love the Avenger movies. I love Civil War. I love all that stuff, but the family aspect to Guardians is my favorite part.
It hits really close to home, the father story in that, and it's hard for me to watch, but that's a good thing, I think.
Your father was a planet?
Yeah.
Doug,
Russell?
if you're listening, we are not calling you large.
Have you seen my dad lately? He's actually lost a lot of weight. So I was joking about it a while back. One of the reasons why I've personally lost a lot of weight is because I saw a picture of my dad. He was wearing like this weird horse riding helmet, right? And he had this long trench coat and shorts and socks. He looked like some like weird Doctor Who creation, like they were trying to figure out who the next Doctor Who was and what his outfit would wear. And my dad was wearing this outfit, and he was pretty overweight. And I wouldn't say like pretty overweight. He was a big fat dude.
He's a big
He's a big
he's a
old
big boy.
big old man.
Yeah.
Big old man, Doug.
Does your father listen to the podcast?
We'll find out this week.
Oh my gosh.
And
You're
we'll
gonna
find
get a
out
phone
if
call.
CJ still has a father at the end.
I wonder. Let's burn all the bridges with my family right now and see who listens to this podcast.
Okay. What can you tell us about your mom?
My mom is dead, so we're good there.
Damn it.
Great.
What about your siblings? How many siblings?
Joel, hey, what were you watching this week?
All right. Well, I didn't watch any of those things. That's why I was so quiet. But Seth and I watched the McGregor fight, which we bet on. We bet a pizza on, and
Who lost?
Seth owes me a pizza.
Yeah, I was McGregor all the way. However, no, I bought into it. I bought into the fact that I thought he could pull it out. I'm just because I'm an MMA fan.
And the other couple things, one I won't talk about too long because I know no one's interested, but I did catch up on Dance Moms.
I'm
and
so fucking interested. Tell me about Dance Moms.
No, you're not.
Right now.
But
No. We're not going on. I
wearing
want
his
to know
sarcastic face.
about the Dance Moms. What has happened in Dance Mom world?
a lot of things. They have a new dance teacher, and they're
It's a
doing
mess.
very different, unique dances. That's all I'm going to say. If you like Dance Moms, email me. We'll chat.
What's your email?
JoelSafiran@gmail.com, or you can Facebook me or whatever. But the other thing I did watch that I know Seth also is interested in is I caught up on the Leah Remini documentary series, Scientology and the Aftermath, which is, I think, the most fascinating thing on television this entire year.
Agreed.
It is.
I haven't watched it yet.
If you haven't seen any of it, you got to watch it. It's like you watch the first few episodes, and it's like, oh my god! And I can't stop watching. I can't wait for it to come on TV.
Yeah,
and it's just so great. It's so interesting and fascinating and shocking and scary. It's great. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
And she's a great storyteller.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
think that about
Absolutely.
her, but she's actually a really good storyteller. Leah Remini.
And she's also very edgy. So like when she hears a story and someone's like, yeah, and they were beating me every night and stealing my food and money, then she'll go, that's shocking. What are you talking about? That can't be true. Are you
So
crazy over
she
here?
is kind of her character from King of Queens.
Right.
No,
yeah,
that's
oh,
who
yeah,
she
absolutely.
is. It's typecasting all the way.
That's
through
incredible.
and through.
Okay, mine.
Yeah, what have you been watching?
I've got a couple. I watched one that I know Joel would like. I think Mikeal would like. I don't know if Seth would like. I'm not sure. I think you would like it. I watched Little Evil. It's a new Netflix movie starring Adam Scott. So Ben from
I love
yeah,
Adam
and
Scott.
Evangeline
It's a
Lilly.
TV. Is it a TV show or a movie?
It's a movie.
And he has Damien as his kid or something like that?
So he pretty much marries Evangeline Lilly, and he's like, I'm sorry I never got to know your son before we got married.
Yes, I heard about this.
Yes.
And
yes.
it happens to be that his new stepchild is the Antichrist.
That's amazing.
Oh, Little Evil? I've got to check this out.
It's incredible, and it's like there are some issues that I have with the movie. It's so funny. The horror is great. It's along the same lines of Tucker and Dale versus Evil on that comedy horror.
Okay,
it's so good.
And I would probably enjoy it.
And there's actually kind of an interesting story to go along with it. I won't say, if I said the word that I'm thinking, it'll kind of spoil things.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. And we'll
It's
talk.
so good, and
I will too. I want to watch that.
But it just came out. But I don't want to spoil anything because it literally just came out. And the other thing was Twin Peaks, which nobody else here watches, but it is so good.
We were just talking about that before we started.
I like, if you haven't seen Twin Peaks before, it's one of those shows that you will either absolutely love or you'll hate. There's no in between. Everybody that I talk to thinks that it's the best thing or the worst thing on television.
Now, tell me, do you have to have watched the original series to enjoy this one or know what's going on? Because people have asked me that, and I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't watch it.
Good question, yeah.
Well, the first question you have to ask yourself is, do you actually know what's going on? Is the question. He makes it a big deal to kind of make things crazy and weird and symbolic and be ambiguous about what these things mean. He will not tell you. And I love directors who say, there is a meaning to this, but you don't get to know what it is.
Yeah,
So it's complete absurdism. It's meant to invoke certain emotions.
Yeah.
And so you have to approach it, you have to watch it with an attitude of, let me take this journey, even if I never find out what the hell is going on.
Exactly.
Okay.
That is exactly what this is. And they play on a lot of the classic tropes of cinema, right? Where the main character will lose their mind, right? And then they find something in their life that brings back, their memory and stuff like that. On 4 different occasions in this show, they have a character who's kind of like forgotten his life, and they show him like the cup of coffee and a cherry pie, which is like big things that are in the original series. And he goes, that was good.
That's awesome, though. I love callback stuff like that, too. And I also like plot twists like that.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm going to play this up to make you think that it's going to go the way you want to, and it's not, and you're going to be frustrated, and that's how you're going to feel. And it's on purpose, and I freaking love that.
Now, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Is it the same universe as in a continuation of the story, or is it a completely revamp, or what is it?
It's a continuation of the story.
Same characters, same actors.
Same characters, same actors.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought it was like a reboot kind of deal.
And it's not a sequel, right? It's just a continuation.
They deal. No, I would say it's a continuation of the story 25 years later.
Oh, okay.
So I would say sequel is a
Accurate.
good term. Yeah. But it's like stylistically, it's not the same. So if you watched a lot of the original Twin Peaks, the second season got really weird, but it didn't get as weird as this show gets. Okay. And it gets crazy.
I think, I don't know if I would like that or not. I'd have to watch it and see. My thing is when you say the director throws in things just for the director, not for the audience, like I'm not going to tell you how to figure it out, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That is hit or miss with me. I either love it or hate it. It's hard to...
And that's the thing with the show.
I don't know. I would have to try it.
He makes some of the best television and some of the worst television in this season, and it's all on purpose. And I think that is some of the coolest... It's probably my favorite show of the year is Twin Peaks. It's something that I probably won't rewatch for a good decade. But it's something that I'll like be in the back of my mind when I'm thinking about creating stuff, because it's so meta and it's so going against the grain of normal television where everything has to lead to a certain point, and this one doesn't have to.
I think it's especially challenging with TV shows as opposed to movies to not care about how your audience reacts to it. It probably has a very similar polar reaction to something like Lost, where because a lot of people that we talk to about Lost expected to find out everything and solve all the mysteries by
Right.
the end of the show, and that's not how it was done. And that's why they were disappointed with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Lost, after listening to a lot of interviews with Damon Lindelof, he was one of the showrunners. Him and Carlton Hughes wrote it. He talks about like the pros and cons of writing a show on network television like this, not knowing exactly where you wanted to go. A lot of people think that Lost was like on the verge of being canned pretty consistently, but they were always trying to push for an ending to the show right off the bat. ABC wanted to make the show last indefinitely, and which is crazy. Right? Like ABC wanted a 10-season show of Lost. They wanted them to be on that island for so long.
It would have been so terrible.
And what they said was, you know what? Now what you have to do is now you have to do it in the next 2 seasons. If you're going to end this, you have to do it in 2 seasons. So they were forced to finish the show, and it's frustrating. I like Twin Peaks because they may not make another season. They have no interest in doing something else.
I have a question for Joel. What's that one show on Showtime that we all tried to watch, and we watched one episode of it? It's based off of a weird book about gods.
I don't
American
remember.
Gods.
Yes,
American Gods. Yes.
And like we all watched it.
We watched the previews and we went, "This looks so cool!"
Yeah, and then
we
like,
were all so excited about it. We all, as in me, Seth, and Jalen.
Yeah.
And we looked at it. I think we all watched it at different times.
You two watched it, and then I watched it.
Yeah, the two of us watched it together, and then you watched it later, and we all kind of went,
Not gonna stay with this one.
Yeah, what? Shit.
I
bad for me.
I loved the book. Because
That's what everybody says,
though. It's a fantastic book. It's a good premise, but the problem is they're trying to take this, not the longest book. It's not a long book, but they're trying to take this story and make it multi-season, and nothing happened in that first season. Like, so little happened. And I talked about this before, about how I like slow burning shows with a lot of character stuff. There was too much character stuff.
Is the whole season's over already?
The whole season's over, and then they build to this moment where it's like, oh, this big thing happens, and you're like, duh. That's like what you've been saying the last 10 episodes is this thing.
I think it's good we didn't stick with that one.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
I just
I forgot about it.
that
until you
American
just said
American Gods kind of reminded me of a little bit of what you were talking about when it came to Twin Peaks.
Right.
For me. But nothing in it made me...
We didn't invest enough in it
because
to find
that
out.
one, like once I saw that one girl just like take that dude inside her the JJ, I was like, I think I'm good.
Strange business.
I was like, I bet this is better in the book. That's what I thought to myself when
Right.
I watched it. I was like, this is probably better in the book. When they actually put this to film, I was like, man, probably not.
Not my style.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Please.
This comes from Brandon on Facebook. Thank you, Brandon. He asks, so Hamilton was obviously a smash hit, but which historical figures would make for a terrible subjects of a musical?
I mean, we already did a lot of Hitler stuff last year.
Yeah, let's
Last
not
year.
make
Wow, last
as
week.
let's not make as many Hitler jokes
No, I agree.
or any like. I think it's funny.
Too
Or
soon.
any at all.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. So
Too
okay,
soon.
too soon. No, who do you guys think
Historically,
historically?
a bad historical figure to make a musical.
I wouldn't
about?
say nothing like a negative, but just any historical figure to make a terrible musical.
That's a bad idea to make a musical about.
Alexander Hamilton. Wait.
Who knew?
Man, there's so many. I feel like probably just boring people.
Yeah, people
Who
where
only-
nothing really happened.
Yeah, who
like in there-
accomplished maybe one thing.
I mean, if you're thinking about American presidents, there's a ton of people. I mean, I think a musical based
James
on
K.
Bill...
Polk, the musical.
Right, right. A musical based on like George Senior, George Bush Senior, would be horrible.
Oh, that would be
gosh.
so boring.
Barbara,
There could be a
it's
song
all
where
ballad
you-
heavy. That's what I think.
a Clinton musical would be a lot more entertaining.
Yes, it
than,
would.
George Senior.
George Senior could have a song where he throws up in Japan, though.
It's true. That was probably the highlight, most entertaining part of his whole presidency.
All right. Besides from presidents, who do you guys think? Let's do. I've got one.
ahead.
Somebody a little bit. It's a little bit more modern. I think this would be an interesting musical. Elon Musk.
That would be interesting. I could get behind
Wait,
that.
I thought I thought the question was shouldn't do a musical.
Either way,
okay.
fine.
We'll ask both questions.
Yeah.
Should and shouldn't.
J.K. Rowling, the musical.
Wait, they did Harry Potter the musical.
No, it's
No,
not. Has
but-
nothing to do with Harry Potter.
It's like Becoming Jane or Finding Neverland, a musical about
yeah.
Rowling,
What's the
creator.
And what's the Disneyland one? What's his name?
Saving
Mr.
Mr.
Banks.
Banks.
yeah. That was not about Disney. It was about the guy Walt Disney, right?
It was Walt Disney and the woman who
P.L.
wrote
Travers.
the book about Mary Poppins and
Yeah.
him trying to convince her
Correct.
to make a movie.
That's a pretty rad idea to do J.K. Rowling.
Because if you think about like the impact that Harry Potter has had on the world,
As
I
well
mean,
as
not
her
just,
story
like-
before she.
mean,
wrote
Absolutely,
it.
Yeah.
her incredible success story.
And I mean, like the whole idea about having a homeless, starving mother who's writing the story to try to pay off some debts to help feed her children. That's kind of awesome. Let's do Mel Gibson, the musical.
why would that be bad? I feel like there's
would be
so many
fascinating.
ups and downs, and what a character to play. As an actor, I would be like, I want to play the character.
Oh, absolutely.
would wanna
Exploding over.
Shut up,
What's that breathing thing? Like, who does that?
Mel Gibson.
That's exactly right.
It's a
But
signature thing.
I think that goes into an idea though that anything really can be something as long as it is done well. Like if it's like you can have the worst movie idea and still, as long as you follow through and do something interesting with it, you can make anything work.
So this causes me to think about. I recently watched The Founder for the first time. So
So did I.
Yes.
That was a good movie.
so good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Michael
first of all,
Keaton's
Michael
killer.
Keaton-
Yeah,
He's
and that guy
underrated,
was
I
a
think.
jerk.
Oh man, he was, and that's the thing. They didn't romanticize that character at all. They're like, this guy
was pretty true
is
to
a
the-
complete jerk, and he ruined the McDonald's brothers' lives.
Even
in
though
his
he made
pursuits.
McDonald's a great success,
Absolutely.
he ruined those. Yeah, I thought that was a good movie. Check that out.
It was, and so that said, like even bad historical figures can tell a great story.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that we talk about this too, but I mean, when Lin-Manuel, is that how you pronounce it, Michael?
Manuel.
Lin-Manuel.
I know. Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yep. It's
And I was
Lin-Manuel.
reading the Lin manual.
Yeah. But he was pitching this idea to people, and everybody's like, "This is a terrible idea for a musical." Like, Alexander Hamilton, really? That's who you want to go with? Cool, buddy. But it's just the idea that you can find inspiration and tell interesting stories with the most mundane people possible.
I think also though with Lin Manuel's case, his medium is so specific and different. I think if like Sondheim wrote a musical about it, I don't think it would be as popular.
No, it would
Most
not
definitely.
have.
Yeah. It was the execution, but there was a lot
Execution.
there to work with.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've got a question for you guys.
Hey, Michael, what's that question?
So this kind of comes in two parts.
Ooh, two-parter.
Because there were two questions that I felt really go hand in
Okay,
hand.
go ahead.
Should I ask them both and then
Yeah.
we
So just make it a
Yeah.
two-part.
All right.
Yeah.
So question number one: what musical or straight play deserves a sequel? And question number two is from Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. What show is ridiculous for even existing? So I ask that way because there are several sequels that are ridiculous for existing. So
Right. I mean, we kind of talked about this also, but Annie Warbucks was probably the worst
my
idea
goodness,
for
I could not
existing musical.
handle.
Okay, what about the Phantom of the Opera sequel?
on Coney Island?
On Coney Island. Okay, so when we're
I am
writing,
not familiar with that.
oh my god,
It's a thing.
it's a thing. So you know, like when you're writing a musical and you're like, I want to make a sequel to this musical. You know, it's based in France. Where are we gonna base it? How about Coney Island?
Oh my god.
It's the worst thing.
It's like Jason Voorhees in space, which I love.
That was great. Jason X
But-
was great.
I will say this, and it's only because Joel and I have done it. I think Clue the musical in its form is bad. it's not a good show.
It's not good.
It's not. And it's written by the same guy, I believe, who wrote "I Love You, Perfect Now Change," which is a very popular show. But the music is redundant.
Yeah, it's the music that's the bad part of the show.
Well, the
really.
writing's pretty bad. I mean, like, the premise is that this guy's master of ceremonies, Mr. Body, he runs the show for the audience, and the audience plays, right?
Right.
So there's all those scenarios on how, and then they get clues throughout the show.
Right. It really,
that premise is cool.
It really is just a big game.
Yeah, and that premise is cool, but the writing is so bad, and the clues are really bad too.
Yeah. They try. It's like when they were writing the script, they tried to make it so that they could interchange it, because there's how many? I don't know how many possibilities, hundreds or thousands or whatever. Because there's 6 main players, and if each one of them is a different character with a different weapon in a different room, you have to know all these different combinations that can come out. So they had to make it interchangeable. And I think that's why the script isn't very, cemented, for lack of a better term.
Well, I've got one.
Yes.
Plaid Tidings.
Really?
Plaid
You didn't think it
Ti-
was
oh,
good?
No. So here's the thing. It's not actually a sequel.
No.
It's the same music.
It's the same
music.
show.
It's the same show.
With
at
with
Christmas.
a few
You're
Christmas.
absolutely
Yeah.
right. It is the same show. The music's harder.
Yes.
The music in Plaid Tidings is much harder than
Really?
the original Plaid. Yep.
Forever Plaid. And there's a bad Christmas song in it.
Yeah, they tried to modernize it.
That eggnog bop song.
Yeah, so
makes me
Frankie
want to-
raps. He does like this rap song.
The
no.
Plaid Tiding, Forever Plaid would not rap.
No, they wouldn't.
No. And
Whoever
that's-
wrote that
That's the basis of their characters.
to be
that they're
wrapped
stuck
upside
in
the head.
50s.
But you're right about that. But there's also, like, because it is the same show, so there's like that. It's goofy and ridiculous, and then there's this moment at the end where it pulls everything together, and it's this heartfelt moment, and then they sing "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas,"
Which is a great,
that's
great
that's like the best moment.
arrangement.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. But it's kind of...
But the
it
show
wasn't
itself, you're
necessary.
right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't think of a musical that really does deserve a sequel. Or, I mean, can you guys think of one that if it was done well?
a sequel to a musical that
Oklahoma 2.
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
What? Okay, I got one. I got one.
Okay, wait.
But I got one, but this is a little unfair because it's a musical made from a movie, which is Sister Act, but Sister Act 2 is amazing.
You're right.
And Sister Act 2 would be a great musical.
There you go.
Okay, so let's go through some other shows. Let's spitball some ideas of how they can take the stories past the moments that they've gone.
Well, let's name the great ones then.
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm serious.
South Pacific.
No, I'm-
Showboat
well,
2. Another showboat.
Here comes another one. No, I mean like the foundation of shows that laid the groundwork.
Yeah, let's talk
So,
about
okay.
shows
Now, so like the classics, Fiddler on the Roof would
Fiddler on the
never
No.
be a continuing thing.
Nope.
No, 42nd Street, 43rd Street. Yep.
The show closes and whatever.
Well, they go on tour or something.
Yeah.
I mean that would be.
That would be I can see that.
That one could there would it wouldn't be the same story by any stretch.
Right.
You said Oklahoma, that could be a thing. Oklahoma 2, Judd is dead.
Judd's back.
Oh, yeah.
Zombie Judd.
Music Man 2, the band tours.
There you go.
That would actually be kind of interesting, where he's still kind of like
A con man.
a con man, and people are like realizing who he is in the real world, and everybody else
And
is
so is
trying
now Marion is in on the con with him.
to. Ooh,
Marion is the con.
So they're pulling an Ocean's
and he's
12.
trying to talk her out of it.
There you go.
Music Man 2, The Streets.
The streets. I like it.
I think we can all agree on Wedding Singer being kind of ridiculous for existing. I think we're all in the same boat.
It's a guilty
That's a balance
pleasure,
there.
But yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's a
enjoy
balance
the
there.
show. I enjoy
And the
show.
reason is because
as somebody who's just recently directed it,
yeah, but here's the deal.
let's talk about it.
Between all of us, there are so many wrong things with that script.
Yeah.
And honestly, Joel and I really adjusted it because what people love about the movie is not in the show
Yeah,
itself.
Tim Herlihy, if you're listening, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, you did really good. Kind of.
No, I was talking about our edits.
Yeah. No. So we kind of adhered to the movie because that's what we loved, right?
Mm-hmm.
The music. There's only really 2 good numbers in the show, in my opinion, written musically, and
Well,
Wait,
I don't know
okay,
about that.
what's
I
your
think
songs?
there's more than that.
Do you?
the opening.
Okay.
It's Your Wedding Day, and then the,
If I Told
the duet.
You.
And then Ghost the musical is the same way. Like
What's the
just don't know-
purpose? What's the
Without
purpose
Unchained
of?
Medley?
I know, that's
they
why
didn't get the rights to any of those songs.
Here we are with the clay. We're
Yeah.
gonna mold
It's
the
very-
clay.
it's
We're
very-
gonna mold the clay.
It's very meaningless to me.
Yeah,
too.
Right.
If you're gonna make a musical out of a movie that's classic with a song like that, an
Yeah.
Unchained Melody, that should be in the musical.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
And there's music in Sister Act, and it should be in the musical. It's just silly that it's not.
Hey guys, do you want to play some 6 Degrees?
Hit me.
Absolutely.
All right, so I don't know if you know the rules or not, but we're just going to go over them really quick. So what we do is we play 6 Degrees, where we have to take 2 actors and link those 2 actors between movies they've been in with other actors. You have to know the name of the actor. You have to know the name of the movie. You can use television, but they have to be in the same episode. So now,
Challenge us.
this one is probably going to be a bit too easy.
We'll see, because everyone has come to the table with one of these and said, this is easy, and then
There are at least 3 2-degree options for these 2 actors that I have found.
wow.
Okay.
I think you guys are going to solve this one pretty quick, but we will see.
Okay, who is it?
We've got Matthew Broderick to Matt Damon.
Okay. We're finally using Matt Damon.
We're using Matt Damon.
Actually using him.
So while the other hosts deliberate that, we're going to take a quick, brief word from our sponsors. Hi, everybody. This is Charles with the Something Random podcast. Just checking in to see how things are going. Hey, were you able to find the recipe for those scalloped potatoes by any chance? I thought they were delicious, and I would love to steal that recipe from you. I'm sitting here at about 9, 10 o'clock at night editing this podcast, and I'm recording this the night before. We recorded it today, Tuesday the 5th. And we're putting it out Wednesday morning. It's cutting it a little bit close. It should be still out right on time for you guys. I hope it is. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. But if it is a little bit late, I apologize. Mikeal, Joel, and Scotty are all in Tech Week for their shows. And I'm kind of left taking care of everything on the production side of things. Thanks, guys. No. Seriously. Thank you for everything that you guys do. I'll be recording some extra ADR for the podcast over the next few days. I'm hoping to share some more stuff with you guys. I kind of want to create an audio trailer for the short film. Hopefully I'll be able to create that and send that out to you guys here in the next couple days, but we'll see how my schedule is going because it's getting kind of ridiculous on my end. Once again, thank you for listening to the show, for subscribing to the podcast, for sharing it with your friends. We're getting so much feedback now, and it's great to see people actually enjoy the show. And it's kind of a scary thing to put yourselves out there as much as we have, and I'm glad that you guys like this show. We're looking for some guest hosts to jump in and make some funny jokes with us, so if you're interested in potentially doing that with us, email us at info@something.random.media.com. Information in that is in the description of this podcast. That's also going to be the place where you're going to send any questions that you may have for us here at the Something Random podcast. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, any 6 degrees of separation you'd like us to try to figure out on our end, we would love to hear from you. That's pretty much it for the week. Once again, thank you for listening to the podcast. I can't thank you enough for doing that. It means a lot more to me than you think, getting good feedback, and I'm so glad that you guys like this. As always, have a wonderful week. Enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I love you.
I'm Mickey, and with me is Brandon.
Hey, how you doing?
And Alberto.
Hello.
And together we are
The Three Friends.
And we have a show called The Three Friends Go Criterion, in which we talk about some of the finest films in cinema history, and we do a lot of screwing around.
Yeah, a lot of grab assing on this show.
Sure do.
Mm-hmm. Come here, Brandon. Give me some of that ass.
Check us out at thethreefriends.com. Subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and we love you.
Okay, so...
What was the time?
So it's been 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
We have 5, right?
You guys have 5. Do you guys have an answer? It seems like you guys do.
Let's hear it.
Take it, Seth.
Seth's got it.
Okay, so we have Matt Damon and Matthew Broderick.
Okay.
So Matt Damon with Greg Kinnear in Stuck on You.
Okay.
Greg Kinnear with Ben Stiller in Mystery Men.
Okay.
Ben Stiller with Matthew Broderick in The Cable Guy.
Hello.
That's it, guys. All right.
Holla.
So, do you guys want to give me your crappy movie of the week, or do you want to hear my few answers?
Yes, I would. I want to hear your answers, and then you guys can give them a crappy movie because I don't have one.
Since this was a fun one, and we were talking about Crossroads last week, I'm gonna loan you Crossroads. You have to. You have a DVD player?
I do have a DVD player.
I'm gonna loan you Crossroads. You have to watch it.
Cool.
I was also going to say, since Batman was, we were talking about Batman when we tried to do the 6 Degrees. You have to watch Batman and Robin.
All right.
That is a cruel and
better.
unusual
Let's do that,
punishment.
especially since you got
Oh, okay. All right, I'm watching Batman and Robin this
Ooh,
week.
that's a rough watch.
All of the ice puns.
it. Okay, so
Woof.
let's. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I had a few of them. The biggest one that I had was Matthew Broderick to one of his more recent movies. He was in Manchester by the Sea with Casey Affleck.
Okay.
And Casey Affleck was in Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon.
There you
Perfect.
go.
The other one I had, it was really cheating, but it was Matthew Broderick to Tina Fey in 30 Rock. And then Tina Fey
Oh, okay.
to Matt Damon in 30 Rock.
Gotcha.
Oh wow.
Oh, so you're
Okay.
using the TV show just with
Different
different guest stars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
episodes,
So
right?
it's not cheating per se, but
It just
it's-
adds a step.
It adds one more extra step, yeah. So crap, I have to watch.
That was an easy one though.
I know it was very easy. Like I
Yeah.
thought about it on the way here, and I was like, yeah, that's gonna be too easy.
All right, man. So your bad watch is since Batman came up in this one, we're gonna make you watch Batman and Robin.
With George Clooney and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You have to watch the whole thing. Okay.
Bat nipples, that's right. But
Bat
didn't they
nipples.
come in
But they don't
Forever?
have bat nipples on Batgirl.
So
I think Schumacher. First of all, can we go on record saying that Schumacher ruined that Batman franchise?
can we say that WB ruined the franchise?
That
Because
could be
I don't
it.
think it's really a Schumacher problem.
Well, when you hear Tim Burton talk about it, he blames Schumacher.
When I listen to interviews, it's actually kind of interesting where Schumacher was told, "We don't want to do a dark movie. We don't want to do another dark Batman movie.
Interesting.
It has to be a children-friendly Batman movie."
that's why it was
and he was
silly for
forced
him
into
to do
like
it.
silly, weird shit. It's not. I mean, it's the same problem.
He's not a bad director by
No,
any means.
I don't think that Joel Schumacher ruined it. I think
He was put in a
I
shitty
think-
situation.
Yes, and
he
I
was,
think it took a bad turn.
Because you can still make it kid friendly. I mean, the animated series did that in the 90s. They had a kid friendly version of Batman that was still had a lot of the dark aspects to it.
But
Correct.
they wanted to go something completely different with it. And that's why when they were done with those, they course corrected so in the opposite direction into Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. Is because they're like, oh, we need to do something good with this franchise. Let's try doing something like
And
this.
this is maybe just on the same subject, but do you guys like Ben Affleck as Batman?
Yeah, I think his Batman is great. I don't think that it's the same problem that I have with Doctor Who, that I think Peter Capaldi is an incredible doctor, but I think that the material that he's given is not the best.
Well, we could go on and on about that. Joel, do you think
I haven't seen him.
at all?
No.
Oh.
Not Affleck. no.
Yeah, I thought he performed it well. Honestly, if we're talking about, kid friendly course correcting with Batman, the Lego Batman movie nailed that.
Oh yeah, you said Will Arnett was.
Will Arnett was brilliant.
And that's something that you would
Yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoy.
Oh yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things, and I still need to watch that film.
I'll lend it to you.
Okay.
You know what? I have a question. And this comes to us by Yannick.
Yannick. Thank you, Yannick.
Yeah, thanks.
Since it's kind of like a theater type of theme, what keeps you coming back to theater, and what do you want to see more of in theater?
Okay, so is this question as an audience member or as a performer or
Why,
both?
why don't you say as an artist and as an audience?
Okay.
Well, if you just say as an artist, it's both, right? That's an audience member and someone
Yeah,
on stage.
sure.
So as an artist.
I love the idea, and this is why I keep coming back to theater, even though I don't do very much theater, is the opportunity for infinite creativity, where every single one of these shows can be done in an infinite different ways. And that's just so intriguing to me as an artist, that even though the dialogue is the same, what could be portrayed within that dialogue could be completely different. So one person's take on the scene could be super funny. Somebody else could take it like a serious scene where two people are fighting. And that's so intriguing for me as an artist. And I absolutely love that.
I think that the ability to challenge people, to challenge social status quo, or to make you think about something that you wouldn't otherwise. I mean, as an art form, it's the same reason I like filmmaking, and just the fact that you get to tell the story, and people find themselves laughing or crying or feeling whatever, and then you have to sit there and say, well, wait, why am I laughing? Like, what's funny about that to me? Should it be funny? And it gets you to start thinking, because in my opinion, there's two types of theater. There's fluff theater that is just there for pure entertainment. The more lights and colors, the better. And then there's hardcore. I mean, not
You
hardcore.
just said fluff and hardcore. Seth and I are over here going, Mikeal made a fluffer joke.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's not a sorry. That was
Okay.
brilliant.
Okay. Well, and then there's the hardcore theater that makes you think and makes you question something that you didn't before. And sometimes it's a little of both. But I love that, and what I would love to see more of is true collaboration. Because as a director and as an actor, I have seen so many sides of the coin where directors, they have a very specific vision, and it's their way or the highway, and that's not how theater is done. That's not how film is done. It is a mosaic. It's a compilation of all these different people's visions coming together, and I have loved getting to direct and see ideas that other people come up with that I would never have thought of in a million years.
Yep, I agree. I think that while it's okay for a director to be the one that says yes or no to something, or have it, the general concept of an idea, there is nothing wrong with making suggestions and taking some of those suggestions. You look at these people that are like true greats, and talking more about film, but like, say Stanley Kubrick or I don't know, but they were taking suggestions all the time. They were, what if I did this scene facing the wall, or what if I did this, walking down the stairs instead of staying at the top? And those may be little things, but that's like things that the director didn't think of. And it's not just direction; it can go anywhere. Music direction, set, lighting, costumes, all kinds of stuff. And I think that, that it can get people making too many suggestions, but that's not always
too many cooks.
Yeah, but that's not always necessarily a bad thing. I think that everybody, well, not everybody, but most people that work in this field have a good idea of what is a good idea. You know what I mean? So I think that, suggestions are always welcome when I'm working.
I think true collaboration is rare in the theater world.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. Hey, Mikeal, to kind of stem off of that question, because we're now finishing our short film.
Yes.
How did you feel collaboration worked on that? Because I tried to make it a realm for collaboration, but I'm wondering if that played out well, or if how you felt that went on that front.
Certain times I think it went well.
Let's talk about specific times. Let's talk about what worked and what didn't, because I think this is like a perfect time to bring up collaboration within a film.
Okay. Well, I think there probably could have been more room for some opinions, some perspectives from people who have actually dealt with schizophrenia on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
And there were actors in that particular film who had ideas that kind of got shut down. Maybe it was because of timing, or...
Let me ask you a question. Since we're talking about this actress, there are times where I have been in the director's chair and someone just didn't speak up, whether they tried to say it or not.
That's
They
where
just
I'm coming
didn't
from.
speak
Like,
up.
I would have loved to hear
It's-
stuff like that, and I wonder if that's the case where this actress didn't feel like they could come up to me.
I think that was maybe part of it. No, yeah, there's an overall, like, there's an attitude of approachability, I think, that needs to be had,
Right.
and people need to be constantly reminded of.
Yeah.
Because as a director for this show, I've had certain actors give me ideas and stuff, and I'm like, well, thank you for the idea. You don't actually have the same grand perspective of why I made that choice, but I do appreciate the thought, and so without being walked all over, so still having that veto ability to say, like, let's open up the floor, let's have a discussion time, and write everything down, and yeah. Well, and just to piggyback on that real quick, I watched the first season of Atypical last week. I don't know
Okay.
if any of you guys have seen that.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original, and it's about an 18-year-old boy who is on the autism spectrum, and he's much more higher functioning than most.
Like Asperger's?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not, so first of all, they clearly did a lot of research into the psychology of it.
I am so glad about that, because when I see shows like that new one that's coming out with the kid from Bates Motel, he's in a new show. Yeah, he's in a new show where he's on the spectrum, and he has this great ability to like help doctors. He's like the perfect doctor because he can sense all these things, and I'm like, that's not realistic to what people who are on the spectrum actually can do, and people think that these people who are on the spectrum have these amazing abilities, and we need to stop portraying that image and be more realistic to the situation and tell really interesting human stories with these characters.
Well, isn't that kind of the premise of Monk? Remember that when Tony Shalhoub?
But it's the same thing. It's
right,
the same
and
thing.
he was on the clearly on the spectrum, but he had this like intuitive sense where
Yeah.
he,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
and
the
same type of thing.
made it more of a joke than anything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing where you have to make it a positive thing. They've got schizophrenia, but they've got this, but no, they've got schizophrenia. They're dealing with it, trying to live a normal life. I want to see shows that have people with actual disabilities. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to create.
Yeah, and I think it's I think the short film is a good step in that direction. I think that there's more that can be done, to really understand that thoroughly. I'm thinking back to when I saw was it Limelight Theater that did Bug?
Bug was great
several years ago. And we had some people on the production team come into my class at UNC and talk about all the research that they had been doing about schizophrenia, and it was fascinating, and it really does take a lot of work to paint that picture and to do it well.
So this conversation really branched in a different direction.
Yes,
But I
it
want to
did.
go back a little bit because I want to say that Seth and I have worked together on several shows, and he and I have we almost have a system where, well, like with Wedding Singer, he was directing and I was like his assistant director, and he would direct the show, and I would go up to him, either just go up to him and say, make a suggestion, or go up to him later that evening after rehearsal or something and say, what about this? Or can we do this way? And he'd go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Or he'd go, no, I like it this way. And I think that's an important thing to have. If you really want a good production, you've got to have more than just the one set of eyes on a show, because there might be several things that you're not seeing. It's the same thing with film. And if you're watching, like here's an example, there was a part of the show where the couple's in the middle of the scene and they're doing their thing, and Seth is watching that. I'm looking at the other 5 couples on stage and what they're doing, and I'm going, did you tell them to like touch each other's butts and stuff like that? And he's like, no. Okay, should I tell him to stop? Yes. Stuff like that. So you gotta
But also, it's like what Mikeal was saying too. I think there's really important, especially with theater, know your place.
Absolutely.
Because if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I think we should do it this way, and you're the director, you're like, there's no way you know more about the script and the show than I do.
Yeah.
So there has to be a respect level there, too. I mean, yeah, there are many people in this theater community that think they can direct just because they have performed on stage.
I want to throw people who think they can direct into directing and see how well they do.
I
and
agree
watch
with
them
that.
fail until they do it well. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to see them. I want to see these people grow. And I think throwing these people who think they can and haven't to actually throw them into it is going to be the only way to do so.
Yeah.
And I really want more people to direct because it's so eye-opening as somebody who acts every once in a while, somebody who does all these different things, to see every side of a production.
Yeah, it's harder than you think.
Yeah,
it might look easy at times. It's not.
And with like on the short film side of things, with a crew of 2, maybe 1, sometimes 3 at max, having so few eyes on things and playing so many different roles, it is so eye-opening to do. And I highly recommend that if you guys, I know Mikeal will get the chance here pretty quick on our next short film, but if you guys ever want to direct a short film, I think it's so eye-opening and I think you guys would love it. So we've got to get Mikeal out of here because he's got to go to his rehearsal for his show. So
He's directing.
So we're gonna take a quick break here for a second, and then we're gonna come back and write ourselves a movie.
All right. Hey, thanks, Mikeal.
Hey, thank you.
I
a
love
pleasure,
you.
man.
good
I
to
love
have
you. Please don't go. I need you in my life.
It's not a suspense thriller, but it is a thriller. Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, yeah.
When it's done in a certain way, there is tons of death on stage in like cool, unique ways.
Oh, yeah.
And if you play it right, it can be very frightening. I mean, the time that Joel and I did it together, we came up with really cool conventional ways to simulate these deaths, right? And so one guy got pushed in front of a train, and it was just a really loud train effect and just a light bump that it looked like someone was going over tracks. And one person got their neck snapped, and the way we did that was we literally had a water bottle backstage, and Joel was watching, and he just crunched it right into his microphone, and the audience, like sound alone,
every night. The
Sound
audience would go, oh!
Yeah, sound alone does that kind of stuff. And we used blood in
Lots of blood.
in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
Because we slit Lucy's throat at the end. And,
Absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
that's
was good
dark.
stuff.
That's like really dark.
There was another bloody thing I did with a bloody murder on stage, and that was in Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, where Ben Dickey, who was the guy that was playing Andrew Jackson, shoots the narrator partway through Act 1, which is shocking to the audience because she's the narrator. He shoots the narrator in the neck, and she's in a wheelchair. This is all in the script. He shot her in the neck. She had a tube going up the back of her wheelchair so that blood would spurt out at the audience as soon as the gun went off. And the audience every night, oh, it was great. And it shocked him and scared him. And I think it's definitely possible to make a scary horror musical. It just has to be done well.
Yeah, I think that would be really intriguing to do, and I want to see it so bad, to see not Ash versus the Evil Dead musical. You
Correct.
know? It was campy. It was fun, but it wasn't like, it was just spray gore and stuff
Right.
like that.
Well-
but how would you do the suspense of disbelief where you get these characters to sing but also to scare people?
good. I mean, that's good. But I also think that there's an eeriness when it comes to horror films, right? And if you think of the great horror films, right, they have that reoccurring theme song, right? Like Exorcist has its own theme song. What are some of the other ones?
Jason has Kiki Mama.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
stuff like that.
there are specific music tonalities that you could build off
Definitely.
of.
And it could definitely work. Going back to Jekyll, they have the facade theme, which is great, but they also, that scene when Jekyll slits Lucy's throat, he's singing and he kills her, and it's scary if
It
it's
is.
done well. I think it's possible, and I don't know if it can be done with a movie. musical. I think it would have to be an original story,
Yeah.
or an adaptation of a story. Like
Yeah, you
Jekyll
couldn't
and Hyde.
you couldn't do Silence of the Lambs as like a serious musical,
Right.
because I would be like, oh, it's Silence of the Lambs, so he's gonna go, and
Yeah,
everybody would be like, oh yeah.
Same thing with everything. Like, same thing with anything. I mean, you think about the scariest movie you've ever seen. What, The Exorcist or The
Exorcist
Strangers
for me
or
was
anything.
the scariest. Yeah.
It's not going to rate as a good musical. It's just not. It's because when you're in, that's what the difference between film and theater is. When you're looking at, when you can see a film and look at close-ups of people's faces and things like that really put you deeper in touch with those characters. That's why they changed the ending of Little Shop, because the preview audiences didn't like that everybody died, because they connected so much with those sweet, endearing characters,
Right.
Seymour and Audrey. And when they died, everybody hated it, so that's why they changed the ending.
So let's do this. I know we were talking about doing like a sequel.
Right.
Instead of that, let's come up with a bomb-ass horror musical.
I'm so
absolutely.
down with this idea. So what kind of
Okay.
I think we keep it simple. We don't do anything like crazy spiritual, anything like exorcism, anything like that. We do it like a slasher killer,
Yeah,
where
and
it's like somebody just killing off members of the cast slowly but surely, and then trying to deal with it in the end.
Yeah, and I think there can't be anything campy. No zombies, no vampires, no anything like that.
Right, yeah.
No monster.
No. The monster is the person.
People are going to be scared. It's got to be real.
And something I want to capitalize on. You said in a movie you have you zoom in on people's faces and stuff in order to make an audience feel like they're inside something. You almost have to do it in a different medium. So I honestly think it needs to either be in 3/4 round, very intimate black box space,
Okay.
or in the round. In the round would be preferable. So, and the ability to use above catwalks and anything that can come down, and the ability to come from below.
Yeah.
More
okay.
ways
that means-
to scare the audience. I
Yeah,
absolutely
if
agree.
that's a way, and like if you really truly want to bring the audience into it, then they have to be a part of the action too. Like actually have actors working in the audience.
Yes.
So kind of like how they did Sweeney
Sweeney Todd, yeah.
Immersion.
It's-
Yeah, immersion.
Immersion theater. I think that's a great idea.
the
I-
audience is a character
yes,
in the show.
Yes, it's very true. So do you guys like that idea? Do you like the serial killer kind of?
I do, and I think it's something that, like, I was talking about original story and whatever. If you think about slasher movies, I mean, it seems like most of the time, any slasher movie, it's almost overdone, because not almost always, but okay, think about Jason. Let's just take Jason as an example. Jason Voorhees. The first one is terrifying because you don't know who the killer is. Nobody knows. And then at the end of the movie, it's revealed and blah, blah, blah. And then in the sequel, it becomes Jason, and then it just gets weirder and weirder from there.
Right.
And it's eventually we get to Jason in space and Freddy versus Jason. We don't want to go something that can turn into that, because it can go too far. The writer of Friday the 13th, Victor Miller, waited a long time, hesitated for years seeing any of the sequels, because he didn't like the idea of Jason as the killer. He hated that. I think if we found something where we could really surprise and shock the audience at the ending, like Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees being the killer, maybe not knowing who the killer is the whole show.
I think I like the idea of mixing the horror genre with a murder mystery. I think that's great. So you have that,
yeah, that's kind of that.
You don't know who it is in the end, and I think that's great.
Like an Agatha Christie type of play.
Yeah.
Rather, but like scary shit.
Yeah.
I almost like, and to kind of capitalize off of two storylines that I think are really scary, home invasion can actually happen. And then also something like Disturbia. I love that movie because there's some great jump scares in it, but that could actually happen too. Like someone living next to you who's a serial killer and burying people in their basement.
That could be like the first scene of the thing. We start off with like a Leave It to Beaver style household, right?
Yeah.
And it starts off that mood where you you're going into this musical and you see this happy family, right? And immediately this family is like slaughtered, and it's like the first scene. It's like starts off happy, the family's talking, stuff like that, kids sitting there too, and then like somebody just bursts in and just like destroys this family, and it just sets the tone right off the bat where it's like, this is not your normal musical. Guess what? This is a horror musical, and you're gonna have to deal with this for the next 2.5 hours.
Right, yeah.
I think that type of thing is right on par, honestly.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So how do we build this? Do we build it? So we have a plot line, right?
Yeah, I think yes, I think we have a plot line. That's it right there.
So we have a plot line. I think if we go with that Leave It to Beaver family, I think there should be a lone survivor.
Okay.
And then that survivor works in tandem with a hero type character, whether it's like a neighbor, like a friendly neighbor, or a police officer. Detective.
An unsuspecting hero is always a nice
better.
twist. Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, I like this crime that's committed at the beginning of the play doesn't really have anything to do with what's happening in the rest of the show. So this is like
just a precursor.
This is a precursor, and then it's like the kid who survived, who was like underneath the couch while his parents are murdered and stuff like that, lives, and now he's in this situation that he's put in, and then he's dealing with this while also dealing with the PTSD of seeing his parents murdered and stuff like that, and we can kind of bring back to that and deal with those kind of emotions. I think would be pretty fucking cool.
And a good way to pass plot through would be a montage song, because there's tons of montage. We see it in the Who's Tommy. They do montage song to pass like time. So if we want to show that like this whatever person is like they're being a detective and they're trying to find out clues of who this person is, we do it in a song, right? And then we move on with the next plot.
And while it's going, I'm thinking about back to Jekyll again. Murder is one of the best songs in the show. It opens Act 2. And how many people does he kill in that song?
Six or seven.
Yeah, and it's over time, and it could go back and forth. They're trying to figure out who the hell it is, and while they're doing that, he just keeps killing people. Yeah,
and you got to follow. There has to be a love interest for this person that was stayed alive.
Yeah,
the only reason is because you want the audience to fall in love with more than one character.
Yeah. So there's the idea of the cliche teenage girl. I
have been digging a lot lately, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I like the idea of friends more than relationship, like really close friends who have this connection, because it's harder to get to that point as an actor, I feel, to have like a close friend that you're dealing with than it is to be lovey-dovey with somebody.
Yeah, and love is so overdone.
It is. It really is.
Especially on stage.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Horror.
Yeah.
I will say this, though, but that's the one relationship most people can relate to.
Yeah.
That's true.
But it's also one that a lot of people can't.
Right, but that's the fantasy part.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess that's true.
I mean...
But I understand that. Like a close friend, and if the plot twist is that friend ends up becoming that's the one person.
Yeah, I think
it's the unsuspecting.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a love relationship that's like, I love my friend.
Right.
I'm in love with this person.
Right. And one other thing that I really like, I want to take from Alien, is
the original?
Yeah, the original one.
Okay.
The original Alien is to cast people not necessarily based on their gender and race, but based on who is best portrayed in this role. So like Alice Ripley was originally supposed to be a male character until they cast Sigourney Weaver, and like the rest of the cast was not supposed to be men and women. Like it was just written as characters. And I think when it's redone and recast, they can have two men as these roles, or two women as these roles, or a man and a woman, or a woman and a man, and just like this story can keep changing over and over by who tells it. And I think that would be
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I
like it.
Cool.
That's cool.
Okay, so now we have our plot line. We have that. So now we need to come up with a main character. So is it the child of their parents?
Yes.
Let's just say that. Okay.
Yeah, I think
this child
that grows up. Or
yeah, this is like 20 years later.
Okay.
So this is like him. So
he's 25.
He's 25. Let's say he's 25. He's hanging out with his friends. what are they doing? Why do they run into this killer? Why is this killer around them? Is, I think, one thing that we're gonna have to.
Oh yeah. So why were his parents murdered?
Just because. I think it was just like a robbery, and like it just happened.
Well, if it's a 20-year later thing, could it be a 20-year some sort of reunion or
like a school reunion?
Yeah,
kind of a
because
thing?
I have a feeling that this kid probably ended up being quite a loner.
I think I don't know. I think that age he would probably be forced into like a lot of therapy, and he would be forced into being more social by other people because they think that he's going to be super fucked up. Maybe he is. Maybe they realize, hey, this kid had this serious thing happen to him. Maybe he's a serial killer.
Oh, I have an idea.
Okay.
So what if this thing happens to this kid, right? Mm-hmm. And then as he's going through the show, people around him just start dying, right? And you suspect a whole bunch of different people, his friends, let's say.
Right.
But it comes out that he's the killer.
I like that. I do like playing off the fact that he may be the killer, but I like because obviously
Maybe a better plot twist at the end then. But that's something that that you could suspect watching the movie.
I would say I think at every single point what Curtains the musical did really well was it made you really think of who this killer actually is. It was like, oh shit, it's the director. No, it's this actor. Is it the detective? And then it really like threw you around into a bunch of different ideas of who actually is the murderer before realizing it's none of the characters that you thought it was. It was the random other guy who is in the story. Like I like that, but I think having one of the characters be the killer is definitely important. I'm not 100% sold on it being the lead character.
Okay.
I think it also too. One of the things, one of the scary slasher movies that one of the things that could happen movies, whatever you want to call them, that I freaking love. All four of them is Scream, and so if you throw in that many characters,
I think it should be like a full on ensemble,
more than a dozen characters.
Yeah.
And
it's not like three
because
or four
then you're
people
questioning
in the show.
who the killer is the entire. I remember seeing Scream in the theater and people going, "Oh, it's Dewey. Oh, it's got to be this guy. Oh, maybe it's her.
Right.
Oh, it's this person."
So
and that's what I would want to stimulate in a musical version. Too.
So let's say that the protagonist has a sibling.
Okay.
Okay. But the protagonist is the only one that witnessed the murder. The sibling did not. So they're in the same house.
Okay.
The siblings' parents died, but they didn't witness it.
I like that.
Okay, so
good.
and I think that'd be
That's
very
cool.
interesting character development between the two of them, where one of them hates the other one because they blame the other one for the parents dying, and that could be guys.
That's
Maybe we
thematic.
shouldn't
Yeah.
talk about this
That's
anymore.
thematic.
Someone might steal our idea.
And then I say we have a chief investigator, where it's the chief of police or the local sheriff. I like that Dewey character,
Right.
that type of thing. There's a lot of humor
A
and
teacher.
levity, or and a teacher.
Yeah.
Let's have two more adults that come in here. Okay.
I think I got who it is.
Therapist
I
or
know who the killer is.
Okay.
Is going to be the
Yes.
therapist.
You think?
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking.
Killed his parents?
No,
Killed
no.
The protagonist? Oh, that's just a home invasion.
That's the home invasion thing. It doesn't have anything bearing to do with the story, but the therapist is the one who's the main character is talking to throughout this whole thing. So we do like asides where he goes and talks to the therapist and be like, hey, my friends are missing, this and that. And the therapist is like, I don't know what you're doing. Like trying to force him into this like really shitty situation to kind of like figure out how he's going to deal with this emotionally. And I think that's how we can like say it's a character decision being like, I'm trying to fuck with this guy to see what he does as a character.
Right.
And I think that would be super, super intriguing. What do you guys think?
love that. I love that.
You guys like that?
So we got the therapist, we got a teacher, and we got a police officer.
Yep.
Okay. How about so if our protagonist was 5 when their parents were killed, they need guardians. Mm-hmm. So an aunt and uncle or godparents. I think
Godparents.
would be
I think
great.
would be great.
And so that's another 2 people, and then a best friend.
I think so. People who survive, I think the siblings should be the ones who survive, and it could be kind of like a cathartic story for them to kind of like deal with their own shit. And also, I mean, that's literally kind of what my own short film is about dealing with your own demons while being okay with somebody else's,
right,
and like family and stuff like that. And I think that's super intriguing for me, but I don't know how you guys feel.
No,
about
I love that.
Yeah, that could work. There's so many ways we could go.
I know there's so many.
So we need
what about a bully? Could there be a bully?
Yeah,
I think
that works a lot because that's
a bully
an
when they're
antagonist.
young and then bully when they're older.
And that's
too.
also an antagonist throughout, which is really nice to have.
Maybe even a bully and a couple friends, a la Stephen King's It. You know what I'm saying?
So some
they
negativity.
die or
There's some
something.
conflict throughout and negativity other than just the siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then when the bullies die, you find out the killer's actually helping me. But there's so many different turns and so many ways
I like
can
that.
manipulate.
So I say
The
we do
mind.
like a dozen people in the cast.
Yeah, I'm
Would be
down.
perfect.
I think like a large ensemble cast is perfect for this. So we can have these main characters have different asides with these different characters, and then bringing it back to the therapist, who then goes off and kills people and this and that, and then the therapist disappears, and everybody's like, "Oh, we thought it was the therapist, but the therapist is gone now. Nobody knows who the therapist is. Therapist is actually just like committing the last few murders."
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
I'm
that.
so down.
Now, okay, so that's great. We know the end, we know plot points, and we have characters. Great. So now, start a working title because you're really good at titling stuff.
God, I don't know.
We'll start it. I mean, you start working on it, and then here's something that we really need to think about logistically: how to actually scare the audience.
I think I don't want jump scares. I think if we're gonna do jump scares, we should do one or two. I'm not big on jump scares personally. I think it's more scary for me when I see like movies like Requiem for a Dream that just like destroy you internally.
Ash to ash.
But it's so disturbing, and that's what the horror comes from, is just seeing the mom just like fall into drug addiction.
Does this train go to Madison Avenue? I'm going to be on television.
Oh fuck! That
Yes,
movie.
I know.
Yeah,
That
that
movie scared the
movie's
shit out of
rough.
me. And I remember watching that movie and going, if I had kids, I would not allow them to watch this until they're 17.
Yeah,
It's rough. It's a rough watch.
it's a movie.
And that's
that
the first time I've ever said that about any movie. And I was like, I wouldn't let my kids
I
watch
watch that movie once a year. I make sure that I watch it once a year because it's one of the few movies that I can watch that makes me like feel disgusted like that, and that's such a interesting feeling that I don't have very often. So I like to rewatch it.
And I'll tell you what, I can take Jared Leto, whatever. I can take him or leave him. But Marlon Wayans in that movie is awesome.
He's fantastic.
He's so good.
The rest
he
of the
has a-
cast is really. I mean, the entire cast is great, but I think he is
He,
like an
he
interesting.
actually has a much bigger part in the book. And it focuses a lot less on Sarah Goldfarb and more on him. And but yeah, that's movie scared the shit out of me. And I
Right.
think we could add realistic things like that to freak the audience out for sure.
And here's the deal: like, I agree with that kind of that. I mean, it's crazy to scare people to like. You want them to like leave thinking about things, but I think that jump scare is a necessity.
Oh, I
yeah,
think I think
I
so
think a
too. But
couple-
I think
Don't wanna overdo it.
overusing
No,
it.
I'm like a medium. You need a balance.
I think-
like as in with everything, you need a balance.
It's with comedy, you go in threes. I feel the same way with big jump scares.
I think that if we're gonna do three, we should do three completely different jump scares.
Absolutely.
One that's the entire audience, right? One that happens like scares everybody in the room. Maybe like there's a big flash of light and like we see like a dead body or something. No, that's not that scary. But like we do something small like that. We do one where an audience member gets grabbed. It's like you sign this form, right? You may be touched by
and that's
somebody.
and if
And
and
it's
they keep
somebody-
coming back, it should move because if it's immersion theater, that's important. That
Right.
jump scares
and
important.
it's one specific person in the audience that you freak the fuck out, and then everybody, and that happens the second one, right? So now everybody thinks, oh shit, somebody's gonna try to, maybe it's me.
I also think it's important, and this isn't jump scare stuff, but like if we are going to do that first scene in all its glory, we need to adhere to like Universal Studios and Disney and what they do for certain things. So
Because you don't want to get too haunted house.
no, but I think to establish, and that's just that one scene, just to establish it, I think it's important to let them understand. So very easy conventional ways is they have those misters that you can put around your pool right?
Yes.
To keep you cool.
Yes.
I think honestly, if an audience hears like sound effects of someone getting stabbed and stuff, and you spray them,
Yeah.
and they're in the scene,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not necessarily jump scare. They're just like,
They feel kind of like
Yeah,
maybe
they're
this is
in it.
blood on my face.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do that too with like breath on a neck, that type of stuff. All of those are very easy.
It's going to
and-
be a big budget thing.
and
That's fine.
Even then,
Yeah.
that's not. But that's low. Like breath on your neck, that doesn't have
no, I know,
to
but
be.
I love that. I think that's great.
So I think it's important to establish that. But later on, jump scares, maybe not.
Well, and thinking about that made me think, because I remember I haven't been to Universal or Disney World since I was, oh my God, it was probably 25 years ago, long time. But I remember being scared in the Alfred Hitchcock thing, and there were a couple other, I can't remember what was popular at the time, but there were things that scared the crap out of me, and it's like, we could do that. We could make that a thing. Sweeney Todd worked, Jekyll and Hyde worked. We could do this with an original idea.
I like it.
So now, title-wise, I think we need to kind of figure something out. This one's going to be kind of harder. I don't think we can't be too on the nose. I don't think that would be themes of this. We can talk themes and kind of going off those themes, dealing with like PTSD, dealing with like family problems, that kind of stuff. Maybe the title has something to do with the family.
Is all grown up something?
All grown up.
Yeah.
Well, why not something like that? Like grown, like a single word, like
Grown.
but it sounds
All
like
grown up is the Rugrats. All grown up.
All grown
Oh.
up, yeah.
We definitely don't want to call it that.
No, we could do something along those lines, like
Why don't you call it? You could just call it one word: adolescence, or
Or
add dead lessons. Oh, this is bad.
add dad lessons, and it's all dad jokes. And we're going back there again. I like the single. Like I'm a big fan of the single word.
Cleaver. That was the movie that in The Sopranos that the mobsters tried to make. It was just called Cleaver.
I like that. What is the weapon that the
don't
killer
know.
is using?
I don't know. Cleaver's a little. I think if you hear Cleaver, you're gonna. Oh.
But I think if it's unassuming,
Yeah.
because we talked about it kind of being unassuming. It's all grown up works.
Yeah, I like something that's more ambiguous, like grown, GROWN, not GROAN, because something that's ambiguous is the only
Yeah.
word I can think of.
I
Like
think-
when I saw the poster for Creed, I didn't know what it was, and then I kind of read and I was like, oh my God, it's Apollo Creed's kid. This
So,
is the greatest thing.
Grown works. I think you could just say maturity.
Yeah.
But even then,
I think
to me,
that's
I say
that's
maturity. I think of senior citizens.
Yeah, I think we should go through a thesaurus, right, and look up the word grown, and
There you
and
go.
kind of go from
That's
there.
a good idea, actually.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm doing right now.
And one word. I think it should just be one word.
Yeah, who's gonna compose this?
That's the only thing that I think we should name, because anybody could direct it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it has to be the same kind of style. I think we should get somebody who has scored horror films before. I think having somebody who's done like the classic scoring for Jason, for Freddy, would be a good choice because they understand the genre and how people feel. Maybe somebody who's also done theater, who also understands that as well. When I think of this being a musical, I think that there's going to be a lot less music than a normal musical.
Yeah, almost a play with music.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
like 4 or 5
Peter and the
songs, if
Starcatcher
that.
was kind of that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Play
Where
with
it
music.
had like a few songs in there, but a lot of it was like
I agree. I also think that an underrated. I don't think he's underrated, but because the show got so much publicity, and say what you want about it, but I do think Duncan Sheik would do a good job.
okay.
The only reason is because Spring Awakening,
It gets
musically,
serious, yeah.
musically-wise, musically,
Musically.
is very interesting, and it's also eerie.
All right, you guys ready for some spitball of some idea names?
Okay.
Go.
Evolve. Yes or no?
Going. That no, because that to me is like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Arise. Become.
Becomes closest so far.
Expand.
Expand. Extract. Expand.
Claudia.
I'm afraid you're going to leave me. It's something that's overdone, and I've never been crazy about it, but it could also be the first name of the main character.
That's not bad. Caleb.
Because when it's
weren't we
a
gonna
horror-
do like sexless? So
yeah,
but
but
you can have-
Chris.
after we cast. Well, it doesn't have to be sexless. It's just.
I think
casting is sexless.
But you can have like Charlie is a unisex name now. You can have unisex
yeah, but-
names that are. I mean, like you can have Alex. You can have
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about
main character's name.
yeah. I don't know. For some reason, it works better with horror films than it does with like. TV
What
shows.
about like because it's about the two siblings. What about their last name?
Like
The Kellys.
the Joneses, or whatever?
The Kellys work.
Do you like that?
I like that.
Whatever.
The Caikowskis. No. That's a no. The Chavises.
The Macbeths.
I don't know if we can get a
names.
title. Only
How about
because,
just call it adult?
Yeah, I
Adulthood?
don't know. I don't think we could get
Is-
a title until we know the full story.
I think we've. Well, I mean, it's about like like a coming of age story of a kid dealing with PTSD about his family being killed and now his friends are being killed. There's a few different ways we can take this. We can either call it something like adulthood. We can call it grown.
What if we went the other way and called it something like child, or like because he's an adult but he's still kind of a child?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
We could. Yeah, I like that.
We could just name it
Childish.
No, we could name it The Child.
I like that.
The child.
Much better. Much better. I like that.
Franklin, a child.
Now, okay. Yeah, I like that. I
Remember
think
that
it's
from Annie?
Yes.
Okay, good.
because then we say the child. What about the brother? That's a big part of the story is the brother dealing with the fact that everybody makes it about the other brother who saw
child.
The child.
yeah.
I like it.
Coming soon.
I dig this name.
Round
Yeah.
theater.
Immersive theater. I like it.
Yeah, this is gonna be great, guys.
That's actually something that would be doable.
Yeah.
And I mean,
do it.
we were talking about like budget earlier, but I think you can
Yeah.
the more
Well, the reason I brought that up is because I'm thinking like, oh, if we have fans on the back of each chair and stuff like that. But
No,
right, but I
mean,
think a minimalistic approach to this is really what's gonna make it eerie. Because I think the best scary movies, in my opinion, are the ones that are low budget. I will say this: I loved every second of this. It was a
fun,
lot of
right?
fun.
Yeah, man. I'm
sure.
so glad that you swung by.
I appreciate you asking me. Really.
Well, once again, this is Seth Caikowski, our special guest. Do you want to plug anything? Are you working on anything right now?
I am not working on anything. I will say this: there's a theater community or company that Joel and I both work for. It's called Performance Now. They're opening a show this weekend. He's working on it. It's called The Marvelous Wonderettes.
Yes.
Should be really great. Music Man opens this week at the Candlelight. Go see that.
that
Check
was
it
going to
out.
be my plug.
Oh, I apologize. I know I'm such an asshole. And then I want to know specifically, when does your movie drop? When's it released?
Our short film releases September 29th, and that's going to be on pretty much everything. We're going to release it on
Great, because I want to
YouTube,
catch it.
Vimeo. It's going to be great.
And everybody out there should catch it, because if you haven't had a chance to work or see what CJ and Mikeal put together, they are brilliant at what they do. I mean
Oh,
that.
shucks.
I don't think
Joel's
they're very
pretty good.
We're okay.
Joel's good too.
We're
He's good at
okay.
things.
Anyways, my name is Charles Kelly.
My name is Joel Adam Chavez. I want to do that plug really quick. That
Okay.
was the Music Man at Candlelight Dinner Playhouse. I'm painting it. I'm very tired. I've been working nights to finish painting this thing. Scotty, who is oftentimes on our podcast, is in the show. He's funny. Go check it out. I mean, yeah, go see it.
And I'm happy to be here. My name is Seth Allen Caikowski, and my initials spell sack.
Sack. Mine spelled Jack.
Jack and sack.
Sack and Jack.
Sack and Jack. Mine spells Sujik. So, anyways, guys, this is the Something Random podcast. Have yourselves a wonderful week.